and they all come from different backgrounds and walks of life and experiences, and some of them get very confused. And we always have control and power to do something about something that's bothering us. My parents invited him over for dinner. So there's lots of ways to handle bullies, but I'm not sure if your question is how to handle bullies or how to soothe your son. I'm assuming it's how to soothe your son. And so to soothe your son, you want to explain to him that there's all kinds of people in the world, and they all come from different backgrounds and walks of life and experiences, and some of them get very confused, and they may express themselves poorly, right? So they may pick on you and bully you, and that might mean they're jealous of you. That might mean they want to be friends with you, but they don't know how. It could mean whatever, right? People do all sorts of things for all sorts of reasons. Years of therapy to understand that stuff. But once your son understands that, it's more about what power or control does he have. You want to help him feel empowered and in control of his life and his situation. And we always have control and power to do something about something that's bothering us. Even if something's out of our control, we can control our responses so that we don't have a terrible day for 24 hours afterwards, right? You want to focus on empowering your son and making sure he taps into his own power and control, even if it's just in his responses. So, he could change schools. That's a thing people do to avoid bullies. It's a bit drastic, but even just thinking about it might be soothing and empowering. He could avoid them or transfer classes. He could make friends with a bigger kid. He could learn self-defense. My parents, when I was young, we had a bully named Rapinder, and he would chase us home all the time. And my parents invited him over for dinner. And we were scared. We were no, oh no, traumatized children, right? But my mom was no, don't worry. And so she invited him over for dinner. We had a nice meal, and she asked hey, why do you do this? And he was I don't know, your kids are so smart and they have a great life or whatever, and I feel left out and all this kind of stuff. And so we ended up helping him with his homework, and he brought over his video game systems, and we ended up being great friends. So we transformed the bully into a really good friend. And then no one picked on us anymore because he was the biggest kid in school. He was huge. I think he got held back a grade. And so he was a giant. I'm not saying that's exactly how it's going to work out for your son, but I'm saying that if you can help him focus on all these different options that he can take, that he can do, it'll help. And, it'll depend on his feedback as well, because he may prefer one option over another. I'd like to do this, or I'd like to take karate classes, or I'd like to change schools, or whatever. But you have to be willing to help, right? Help facilitate his choice or his dream. I don't know. Every situation is sort of nuanced, but the overall answer to this is when your son is feeling powerless and beaten down and abused and mistreated, the number one way you can help him is to move him away from that powerlessness more towards anything, right? Get him fired up, get him angry, get him happy to move forward, get him happy to change schools, just get him exploring some options. And I don't know, maybe you teach him to be Zen, and he ends up being the most Zen kid in school. But I've listed more options here than most people consider ever. So hopefully this puts you on the right track.